Russell Institute of Learning, powered by the WARE concept, working at renewing education, welcomes you to another Sidebar education broadcast hosted by Dr. Jan Ware Russell. Welcome back to an episode of Sidebar in Education. Again, this week we have Ashley Brenneman, who is my daughter, and she is going to be sharing with us what she's been observing of the options that are coming up for this fall. It was funny because in one of the episodes we were going to go right into looking at her 4 boys and their different learning styles and how that has impacted her parenting. But after we had our last interview, a picture came to me. And so during this session, we are going to look at that. But before we do, Ashley, what have you been hearing in your community that's going to help teachers and parents to know what are they going to do about school in the fall?
Well, currently they have ideas or they're thinking about options, but there's nothing been set in stone. Looking at a mixed schedule for elementary and middle school kids, 2 days on, 3 days at home, and that middle day, like some of the kids, half the kids will go Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday will be a buffer day to clean, and then the other kids will go Thursday, Friday, and trying to keep them with masks on, socially distant, and limiting movements in hallways and changing of classes so it's roughly the same kids around each other. And then right now the option for high school that they have put forth is online learning 100% of the time.
Wow. And what's your response to those options?
I don't personally think that they are great options for all kids. Some kids might do okay, although I feel like especially my high schooler does not think he can do as well or get as much help or progress. And high school is very important going into your life and possibly college or career or whatever. My middle schooler wants to just go back to school. He'd probably do okay, but you really think about the kids that have bad home life or are lacking in nutrition or just neglected in general, where they would only have the school to maybe see those issues and be able to help or report them or just get them by day to day. These kids will have been out for 6 months by the time they choose to do one or the other, as well as parents that are not really there capable or, or spread thin. Then you have having to remember, okay, Monday, Tuesday, and then they have to figure out, or remember or find people to watch the kids or, kids that are young getting left at home because the parents can't take care of them. And so I'm relatively disappointed that is the best that we can come up with.
All right. And in my school district, we've been talking, but there has been nothing definitive. And again, what we might want to do at our local school, if your district or your entire education system says you do differently, well, you have to follow them. We've looked at and at least talked about, well, what if we did, we're a primary school. What if we did grades kindergarten 1, 2, and 3 in the morning, send them home, and then do grades 4, 5, and 6 in the afternoon? And not that they would be home, that when they are home, they would also have online activities and classes, which was we were moving toward what's called flipped classroom, where they would have things that they could read and prepare so that when they came into the classroom, now we can actually do either the labs or the actual written work. So we were moving in that direction. There are, options, like you had said, maybe certain days of the week would be certain grades, or, so nothing has been decided. However, I would like to share with you something that came to my teacher union chat. And so I'm going to share my screen, and I want you to look at this, and I'm going to describe it for our viewers who might not be, they may be only listening to the audio, but there are probably about 24 or more students in a classroom. Every desk, I can see there are certain little squares on the floor. They have a clear plastic, sort of almost a box, covering them on all sides. I can't quite tell the back. I think their backs are open, but even if their back is open so they can scoot their chair out, the desk behind them, it's covered. Now, when I first saw this, it reminded me of when babies, you'd go to the nursery section, and everybody's trying to look, which one is my baby, which one is my baby. And I mean, it looks like a sterile environment. But my concern as a teacher is, how are we going to be collaborating, teaching students to work together with other students? Those are the kind of skills that people are wanting for future 20th century job performance. So how are we going to wind up being able to have them work together? What's your thoughts in seeing that kind of photograph, Ashley?
It's definitely not an ideal situation. And I also wonder, and it's an elementary school classroom, that should
It
be
looked like,
probably,
yes.
they're younger kids. So they probably won't be changing classrooms a lot, because I would find these to be not effective if you're changing desks or changing classrooms. And again, you'd have to wipe these things down. Sometimes I find things like this, like shower curtains in restaurants or certain dividers. If they're not cleaned properly, then they're not really doing anyone any justice, especially around kids that touch things and sneeze and stuff. But so, and also it wouldn't work for high school students that are transferring classes, or might be too big to fit in one of these things. It's not ideal, but I do believe that it's a better solution than making kids sit at home and be online and not be around. As you're talking about collaborating, being together, well, at least they're in one classroom together and they're not all in their own homes, maybe paying attention, maybe not. Like right now, Nico is sleeping, but he doesn't sleep all day. And what happens, again, when you're having kids just at home, they have other siblings. I'm currently able to be here during the day, but I also then at times work at night. So I'm not 100% all the time at the beginning of the day. I'm not an expert or a teacher or certified in all of these different subjects that my high schooler is taking, or everybody needs something at once. I'm very thankful that my 5-year-old that has autism is in a private school for autism that is able to be operating their summer camp and is going to be able to operate. And they're socially distancing as much as possible, but they're all kids with autism. So, I mean, they're trying to get them used to masks. They're cleaning and doing things as much as possible. The teachers wear masks. Nobody's been sick. I don't know that anybody hasn't been sick with an ear infection or something that isn't as noteworthy as coronavirus, but nobody, there's not been any problems with that. And again, these kids have autism. They're not as aware of being socially distant or not putting things in their mouth or wiping And, some of them might like to wash their hands, some of them might not. And again, these are things that all kids have to deal with, but might be amplified, and everything has been, and again, they're vigilant, the teachers. I'm not saying that they're doing things that are exactly the same as last year. They're taking temperatures as they get there, again, in the middle of the day, paying attention, asking if you've had, I'd hope you wouldn't send your kids, but asking if there's been symptoms or you've had exposure. And it's working just fine. And all the parents that I know and that are on social media and that we can talk to each other, it's been very beneficial for our kids. Our kids were drowning. They can't be at home. They need their therapies. They need interaction. They need that. They were slipping back to a point where they were regressing. So again, I'm not a super fan of those plastic boxes, and I think there are issues, but it's better than making our kids sit at home with the rest of their sibling. It's going to have been, again, 6 months, and that's even in one school, one room schoolhouses back in, kids were either working or they were going to school. It wasn't good for the, as much as learning has changed and progressed and we're teaching them more things, we knew, and it wasn't good for kids to sit idle then either. And not all of our kids can work, I am thankful for that also. My 16-year-old has work. He's out of the house. I feel bad for my 12-year-old who literally our pool, chores, and grocery shopping is basically his life, or sitting on the couch.
Well, this is where we have to end for this session in talking about the 3 options that most schools across the entire globe are talking about either 100% distance learning, some type of hybrid, and then also going back face-to-face. As we end here, we want you to continue with us in the next session when Ashley and I look at what are some of the obstacles that are being faced no matter what system is chosen. So watch for us in the next session. Make sure you click on like and that you become a subscriber. We look forward to keeping you and having you as a listener in Sidebar Education. For more information, contact us at russellinstituteoflearning@gmail.com. You can contact us at our tinyurl.com Russell Institute of Learning website, and make sure you mention ID code HELP for a special introductory offer.